I call this below the gartel. It's below the belt. You know, there's a belt that goes right around the diaphragm. And that separates you from the kind of like animal soul and godly soul. You know, the animal instincts and the intellect, so to speak. But to find the true self, you have to sink below. You have to sink into the belly brain, the gut brain, the hara point, what in my Kabbalistic body work I call the Yesod area, you see. And I've come up with something today because, you know, everybody is blocked. By definition, we're all blocked. That's why we're still growing, expanding, and it's a never-ending Ein Sof. You know, approach the thing, but you never get there. And so, what I'm doing today, yesterday when I was playing, my shoulders open, the katuf, you know, the shoulders open, and today my hips opened, because the hips lead the shoulders. It's not the see, because everything starts from the in here, the triangle downward. And what is this in Kabbalah? It's Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. And the two hips are Netzach and Hod. And the final Mem, the Yesod area, oh, that's interesting, I slipped there for a Mem. Wait till you hear this. Between Yesod, between Netzach and Hod, when you do the paths of the tree of life, that's the mother letter Mem, which is water. And the water, if you remember, I did a video yesterday. Now the water, that's letter Mem, and if you spell Mem full, it's Mem, that's 80, and that happens to be Yesod. So this Netzach and Hod go down to Yesod, which is the real Mem, the real water, because it's obviously, it's urine and sperm. And so there's a triangle there. Now what happened to me was that it's Netzach and Hod, 148 and 15. That's 163. And then Yesod. Yesod is 80. So it's 163 and 80 is 243. And that's the gematria of Avram. That's Avram before he turns into Avraham. And so this triangle here is the Avram. It's the kind of like instinct triangle. Before the hay comes and kind of like socializes him. This is the instinct. And so what happened to me was also, while I'm walking, you know, I sink. See? I sink. Instead of being up and rigid, I sink. And by sinking, I bring it below the gargle, below the belt, into the enteric brain or the gut brain or the second brain or the Elohim brain as opposed to the Yud-Hey Vav-Hey brain. And this instinct down here changes everything. Number one, if you sink, it bends the knees. It brings the weight down into the ground. It grounds you. And from that, then the hips can move. So the first action is weight down. Get it out of the intellect. If you're going to do some sort of, you know, Kabbalah work, get it out of the intellect. See? In a certain sense, Chokmah up there drops into Yesod. There is a connection between Chokmah and Yesod. You see? Because Chokmah goes into Bina and Yesod goes into Malkus. So there's a drop. Once you drop, then you can move. Can't move without the drop. The legs are rigid. Once you drop, then you move. So it's the same thing in tennis. You have to drop. Get out of the intellect so you can move. Because once you're in the intellect, so you have to go down. Down before you go up. And then when you go, you spiral up. And this is an Aikido thing. If you've seen the Aikido thing, it's very much like my symbol. It's the triangle, circle, and square. And they consider the drop the square, and so do I, in my work. See? Because that's the men. And so, before you do an action, you have to drop. Ground yourself, flex the knee, so to speak, get it into this area, second brain. You know, they call it hara, the chi, or whatever it is. It's really the yesod. Because even in the old days when they used to say, well, the hara point, it gets its, belly breathing, it gets its energy when it drops into the yesod area. The yesod is the real energy. It's real Ein Sof. That's what the yesod energy is, and it can even be spelt out of the word yesod, because if you see yesod, it's yud, samek, vav, dalet. So if you want to make the aleph from a yud, vav, dalet, and then you could have the samek. Ooh, I just thought of something. Oh my. Yud Vav Dalet in Gematria is 466. And Samach, that's the Aleph, and Samach is 120. Well, that is it, because so the gematria of Yesod is 586, but that Yud could be an Aleph, so it's Aleph Samek, and that's what we know. We know that the Ein Sof's in the Yesod area. See, and it comes from Netzach Hod, and that bar across, which is a mem, dropped into Yesod. And this is, everything comes from here. All your reactions. And even in the movements, remember this is the initial spot. So drop down into the initial spot, put all your energy there, and then the dropping, it flexes the knees, which permit this more. Otherwise, you have rigid knees, you're blocked here. But if you drop, see? And this is what I call everything below the gartle.